Snow fell thick outside North Star Tower, coating the glass windows in white frost. Inside the elevator, silence held court among expensive suits and leather briefcases. The numbers descended steadily. 3rd floor, 2nd floor. Then the doors opened on the lobby level, and a small voice shattered everything. "Mommy." Every head turned. A child stood at the elevator entrance, 5 years old at most, wearing a purple winter coat with mismatched buttons. Her blonde hair escaped from beneath a knitted hat. Pink mittens dangled from her sleeves. She was looking directly at the woman in the back corner. Evelyn Frost did not move. The CEO of North Star Industries stood frozen, her charcoal suit perfectly pressed, her dark hair pulled into a flawless bun. At 42, she had built an empire through precision and control. Nothing surprised her anymore. Nothing touched her, but this child was running toward her. "Mommy, look." The girl held up her mittens. "I wore them like you said." Evelyn stepped backward. Her shoulder blade hit the elevator wall. The other passengers stared. Someone whispered. A phone appeared, ready to capture this moment. "Lucy." A man's voice cut through the tension. "Lucy, stop." He emerged from behind a maintenance cart, wearing the Navy uniform of building operations. Younger than Evelyn by a decade, perhaps. Tired eyes, calloused hands that reached for the child. "I'm sorry," he said to no one in particular, to everyone watching. She didn't mean, but Evelyn was already moving. She pushed past him, past the cart, past the child still calling for her. Her heels clicked rapidly across the marble floor. The revolving door spun. Cold air hit her face. Behind her, she heard the man gathering his daughter, heard the murmurs spreading through the lobby like infection. By tomorrow, the story would be everywhere. The Ice Queen of Chicago, running from a child. Evelyn walked 3 blocks before she realized she'd left her car in the underground garage. The snow kept falling. Daniel Harper sat on the basement floor at 2 a.m., watching his daughter sleep. They'd made a fort from supply boxes and cleaning equipment, the best they could manage in the maintenance room where he worked nights. Lucy slept curled in her purple coat, the one she refused to take off even indoors. Her breath fogged in the cold air. North Star Tower heated the offices, the lobbies, the conference rooms where deals worth millions were made. But here, where the building's servants worked, the temperature hovered just above freezing. Daniel had complained once. His supervisor reminded him that maintenance workers were lucky to have jobs at all. The daycare center charged $70 a day. Daniel made $14 an hour, 8 hours a night, 5 nights a week. The math didn't work. It never worked. So Lucy slept in the basement while he patrolled 38 floors, checking thermostats and replacing light bulbs, and pretending his daughter wasn't curled up beside industrial cleaners, breathing in chemical fumes. He reached over and adjusted her coat, tucking it tighter around her shoulders. His hand brushed against her feet, and he froze. Her shoes, pink sneakers with white laces, scuffed and worn. Sarah had bought them 2 winters ago, back when Lucy was 3, back when his wife was still alive. She'd insisted on pink even though they couldn't afford it. "Every little girl deserves one thing that's just hers," Sarah had said. Lucy had worn them through every season since. They were too small now, cramping her toes, but she wouldn't let them go. Just like she wouldn't let go of calling random women mommy when they showed her the smallest kindness. Today, it had been the CEO. Before that, the woman who held the door at the grocery store. Last week, the librarian who helped her find a picture book. Daniel had tried explaining. "Mommy is in heaven now. These are just nice ladies." But Lucy was 5. 5-year-olds didn't understand death. They understood warmth. They understood when someone smiled at them. When someone remembered their name. The CEO hadn't smiled. She'd run. Daniel closed his eyes, listening to the building hum around him. Somewhere above, in heated offices, People made decisions that would never touch them. Somewhere above, the woman his daughter had called Mommy was probably asleep in a bed that cost more than his entire year's salary. He wondered if she'd even remember the incident by morning. The radio on his belt crackled. Third floor needed a thermostat adjustment. Daniel stood, checked that Lucy was still sleeping, and headed for the stairs. The pink shoes stayed behind, small and defiant in the cold. Evelyn Frost lived on the 42nd floor of her own building. The penthouse had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. Tonight, the lake was frozen, a vast expanse of white that reflected nothing. She stood before the glass with a scotch she wouldn't drink, watching snow accumulate on the balcony she never used. The apartment was silent. It was always silent. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. Probably her assistant, probably about the elevator incident. By now, the building's gossip network had spun it into something unrecognizable. The CEO and the maintenance man's daughter. Speculation about secret families, hidden relationships, corporate scandals, none of it was true. None of it mattered. Evelyn set down the scotch and walked to her bedroom. Past the modern furniture she'd never chosen, through the hallway lined with awards she'd never hung herself. Everything in this place had been selected by an interior designer who'd never asked what she actually wanted. In the walk-in closet, behind the suits and the dresses and the shoes she wore to convince the world she was human, there was a single glass case. Inside the case, one pair of pink shoes, child-sized. Light-up sneakers with cartoon characters on the sides, the kind that had been popular 7 years ago. The battery had long since died. Evelyn didn't open the case. She never opened it. But she stood there for 20 minutes, staring at shoes that would never be worn again, thinking about a child who would never grow up. Emma had been 8 when the car lost control on black ice, December 23rd. They'd been driving home from her school's winter concert. Emma had sung a solo, something about snowflakes and wishes. Her voice had been clear and perfect. Evelyn had been driving. The other driver survived. Emma didn't, and Evelyn's husband, Marcus, had looked at her exactly once in the hospital before walking out of her life forever. That was 7 years ago. 7 years of winter that never ended. 7 years of building an empire so vast, so consuming, that it left no room for memory, except in this closet, except before this glass case, except on nights when children called her Mommy and she couldn't breathe. Evelyn's phone buzzed again. This time she looked, not her assistant. Motion detected in basement maintenance area. Possible unauthorized occupant. She knew what that meant. The man from the elevator, his daughter, living in her building's basement because they had nowhere else to go. Evelyn typed back, "False alarm. Disregard." She turned off her phone, turned off the closet light, and walked back to the windows overlooking the frozen lake. The snow kept falling. For 3 days, Evelyn saw them. Not intentionally. She didn't go looking. But North Star Tower was her building, and she knew every corner of it, including the ones she'd spent 7 years avoiding. The first time was Thursday afternoon. She'd taken the stairs instead of the elevator, needing to move, needing to think. When she reached the basement level, she heard humming. Through the small window in the maintenance room door, she saw the child. Lucy, sitting cross-legged on the concrete floor, surrounded by crayons and paper, drawing something with intense concentration. Evelyn's hand went to the door handle, then stopped. She watched for 5 minutes. The girl drew with fierce purpose, her tongue poking out the corner of her mouth the way Emma's used to. 3 figures in the drawing. Tall, short, tall, holding hands under something that might have been sky or might have been ceiling. When Lucy looked up, Evelyn stepped back from the window, but not quickly enough. Their eyes met through the glass. Lucy smiled, waved. Evelyn climbed the stairs back to her office. She didn't look back. The second time was Friday night. The building had lost power during an ice storm, backup generators struggling to maintain basic systems. Evelyn had stayed late, working by the light of her laptop. When someone knocked, Daniel Harper stood in her doorway, flashlight in hand, toolbox at his feet. "Checking the executive floor," he said. No apology for the elevator. No explanation. Just doing his job. "The lights are fine," Evelyn replied. "Yes, ma'am." He turned to leave. "Your daughter." The words came out before she could stop them. He froze. "Basement. She's scared of the dark, so I gave her my flashlight. She'll be fine." The building's emergency system crackled overhead. All personnel to remain at their stations. The storm would pass in 2 hours. 2 hours in the dark, for a 5-year-old. In a basement. Evelyn stood. "Take mine." She handed him the small LED lamp from her desk, the one she kept for presentations. He stared at it like she'd offered him a bar of gold. "I can't." "Take it." Her voice came out harder than intended. A child shouldn't be alone in the dark. He took the lamp. Nodded once. Left without another word. Evelyn worked in darkness for the next 2 hours, her laptop screen the only light. She didn't mind. She'd lived in darkness for 7 years. 2 more hours changed nothing. The third time was Saturday morning. She shouldn't have been in the building at all, but sleep had become impossible. She found herself in the second-floor storage area, looking for archived files she didn't actually need. That's where she saw the fort. Someone had built it in the corner, behind the filing cabinets. Cardboard boxes arranged to form walls. A blanket draped over the top. Inside, barely visible, 2 sleeping bags. Lucy's purple coat lay folded beside them. And there, lined up carefully next to the coat, were the pink shoes. Evelyn knelt, her hand reached out before she could think, fingers brushing the worn fabric of those shoes. They were too small. The child's feet must hurt. Why wouldn't her father buy new ones? Because he couldn't afford them. The answer was obvious, brutal in its simplicity. A sound behind her. Evelyn stood quickly, but not quickly enough. Lucy stood in the doorway, holding the LED lamp, its light making shadows dance across her face. "Hi," the girl said. Evelyn couldn't speak. "Daddy's working," Lucy continued, as if this were a normal conversation, as if the CEO of the company wasn't standing in her makeshift bedroom. "Do you want to see my drawing?" "I should," Evelyn gestured vaguely toward the door. "Please?" Those eyes, wide and hopeful and completely unafraid. Evelyn found herself sitting on the cold floor, found herself looking at a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures under what was definitely sky now, definitely stars, definitely something meant to be beautiful. "That's me," Lucy pointed to the smallest figure. "That's Daddy, the middle figure, and that's you." The tallest figure wore a triangle dress and had yellow scribbles for hair. Emma had drawn like this too. All mothers were triangles. All dresses were the same. "Why am I in your drawing?" Evelyn's voice came out quieter than intended. Lucy tilted her head, considering. "Because you tied my shoes." Evelyn had no memory of tying shoes. "In the hallway," Lucy explained. "Last week, I was crying because they came undone and I can't do the bunny ears yet. You stopped and fixed them. You pulled the laces really tight. Twice. Daddy does it twice too." The memory returned. A Tuesday, early morning. A child sitting on the floor near the elevator, tears streaming down her face, struggling with shoelaces. Evelyn had been late for a meeting. She'd knelt down without thinking, tied the shoes in 15 seconds, stood up, and kept walking. She hadn't even looked at the child's face. "That's why I called you Mommy," Lucy said. "Because my mommy used to tie them twice, too. Daddy told me she's in heaven now, but I forget sometimes. I thought maybe you were her. Come back." The LED lamp flickered. Outside, snow began falling again. "I'm not your mother," Evelyn said. "I know," Lucy nodded seriously. "But you did the shoes the same way. That means you're nice." Evelyn stood. She needed to leave. She needed to get out before something inside her broke completely. but her feet wouldn't move. Monday brought worse cold, the kind that made the building's old heating system groan, the kind that crept through walls and settled in bones. Evelyn arrived at 6 a.m., earlier than usual. The lobby was empty except for security and one small figure sitting on the bench near the revolving doors. Lucy, alone, crying silently. Evelyn stopped. Every instinct screamed to keep walking, to pretend she hadn't seen, to maintain the distance she'd perfected over 7 years. She walked over anyway. "Where's your father?" Lucy looked up, tears frozen on her cheeks. "Fixing the heat on floor 20. He said to wait here, but it's cold and I wanted to go outside to see the snow, and I slipped on the ice, and now my shoe." She held up her foot. The pink sneaker hung loose, the sole separating from the upper, held together by nothing but memory and hope. "It broke," Lucy whispered. "Mommy's shoe broke." Fresh tears came. Not because of the cold, not because of the broken shoe, because this was the last piece of her mother, and now even that was falling apart. Evelyn knew that feeling. She knew it in her bones. She sat down on the bench. "May I see?" Lucy extended her foot. Evelyn examined the shoe. The damage was bad. The sole had torn completely along one side, held only by a few weak threads. Walking would be painful. Impossible, maybe. "Wait here," Evelyn said. She returned 10 minutes later with supplies from the maintenance closet. Superglue, duct tape, a small clamp from the toolbox. She knelt on the cold marble floor, the CEO of North Star Industries, wearing a $2,000 suit, kneeling in front of a 5-year-old, trying to repair a shoe that should have been thrown away months ago. "This won't last forever," Evelyn said as she worked, pressing the sole back into place, applying glue with careful precision. "Eventually, you'll need new shoes." "I don't want new shoes." "I know. Daddy says I have to let go, but if I let go, I'll forget her." Evelyn's hands stilled. "You won't forget." "How do you know?" "Because Evelyn had a pair of shoes in a glass case. Because 7 years had passed, and she still remembered exactly how Emma's voice sounded when she laughed. Because grief didn't need objects to survive. It lived in blood and breath and the spaces between heartbeats. But she couldn't say that. Not to this child. "You'll know," Evelyn said instead. "When you're ready for new shoes, you'll know. And your mother will still be there. In here." She touched Lucy's chest, right over her heart. "Shoes can break. This can't." Lucy watched as Evelyn finished the repair, wrapping duct tape around the sole for extra support, testing the bond. It wouldn't win any awards, but it would hold. "Try standing," Evelyn said. Lucy stood, took a tentative step, then another. The shoe held. "You fixed it." Wonder in her voice. "You made it like Mommy's again." "Not quite like it was," Evelyn corrected gently. "But good enough." "Are you a mommy?" Lucy asked suddenly. The same question as before, but different now. Quieter. More careful. The question landed like a knife. Evelyn stood, brushed off her suit. "I was." "Once." "What happened?" "She had an accident. Like your mother." Lucy nodded, accepting this with the strange wisdom children sometimes possessed. "Do you miss her?" "Every day." "Me too." Lucy reached out and took Evelyn's hand. Her fingers were small and cold and impossibly trusting. "Maybe we can miss them together." Something broke inside Evelyn. Something that had been frozen for 7 years. She felt it crack, felt warmth seep through the fissures, felt pain and relief in equal measure. The lobby doors opened. Daniel Harper rushed in, face pale with worry. "Lucy, I told you to stay in the..." He stopped. Saw his daughter holding hands with the CEO. Saw Evelyn's face, raw and unguarded in a way she never allowed. "I'm sorry," he said automatically. "She shouldn't have bothered you." She didn't. Evelyn released Lucy's hand carefully. like setting down something precious. Her shoe needed repair. Daniel looked down, saw the duct tape, saw his daughter's smile. "Thank you," he said. The words carried weight beyond gratitude for a fixed shoe. "Thank you for not running this time. Thank you for seeing her. Thank you for kneeling on cold marble like she mattered." Evelyn nodded once and walked toward the elevator. She made it 3 steps before she turned back. "Harper," she said. "My office. Today. 3 p.m. His face went white. This was it. The termination he'd been expecting since the elevator incident. "Yes, ma'am." Evelyn didn't correct his assumption. She just stepped into the elevator and let the doors close. Inside, alone, she leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. She could still feel Lucy's hand in hers. At 2:55 p.m., Daniel stood outside the executive suite, wearing his cleanest uniform shirt. Lucy sat beside him, coloring quietly. He'd tried to find childcare, but the storm had closed the community center. He'd tried calling his sister, but she was working. He'd tried everything except the one thing he couldn't do: leave Lucy alone. So she came with him. To his firing. The assistant appeared at 3 p.m. exactly. "She'll see you now." Daniel squeezed Lucy's hand. "Stay here. Be good." "Okay, Daddy." The door to Evelyn Frost's office opened. The room was enormous. Windows on 3 sides, a desk that could have held a car, awards and photographs lining one wall. Everything cold, everything perfect. Everything designed to intimidate. Evelyn sat behind her desk, backlit by the gray winter sky. "Sit," she said. Daniel sat. Waited. Why does your daughter call me Mommy? The question he'd been dreading. The one he had no good answer for. "She's 5, he started. "Her mother died when she was 3. She doesn't really remember her, just fragments. The way Sarah laughed. The way she tied shoes. Small things." Evelyn didn't move. "When someone does those same small things," Daniel continued, "Lucy thinks maybe it's her mother. Maybe she came back somehow. I've tried explaining death to her, but she's too young. So instead, I've tried explaining that Mommy is anyone who shows her love, anyone who takes care of her when she's scared, anyone who ties her shoes when she can't." "That's a dangerous definition," Evelyn said. "I know." Daniel met her eyes. "But what's the alternative? Tell her that her mother is dead and gone and never coming back, and no one will ever love her that way again. She's 5. I can't do that to her. So you let her attach to strangers. I let her believe that kindness exists, that people are capable of caring, even briefly, even for a child they don't know." His voice hardened. "If that's wrong, fire me. But I won't apologize for giving my daughter hope." Silence fell. Outside, snow drifted past the windows. "I'm not firing you," Evelyn said, finally. Daniel's breath caught. "Your employee file says you have an engineering degree," she continued. "Civil engineering, University of Illinois. Top of your class. Yet you're working maintenance for $14 an hour. Student loans," Daniel said. "My wife got sick, medical bills. I had to take what I could find that offered insurance. And childcare?" He didn't answer. "Didn't need to." "You bring her to work," Evelyn said. "Not a question. She sleeps in the basement while you patrol the building. Security knows but doesn't report it because you do good work. You've fixed problems the day shift couldn't solve. Saved the company thousands in emergency repairs." Daniel stared. "How do you—" "I read files." She opened a folder on her desk. All of them. Every employee. Every story. Her finger traced a line of text. "It says here you once repaired the HVAC system during a blizzard, when every contractor in the city refused to come out. Building temperature was dropping to dangerous levels. You climbed onto the roof in a whiteout and fixed it manually. Someone had to. You could have died. I had a daughter to feed. Couldn't do that unemployed." Evelyn closed the file. "Building operations is opening a new division. climate systems optimization. We need someone who understands both engineering and maintenance, someone who can design better systems and implement them. Daniel's heart began to race. The position pays $65,000 a year, Evelyn said. Day shift. Benefits include childcare allowance. He couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. I'm offering it to you, she said. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do this? Evelyn stood, walked to the window, looked out at the frozen city. Because your daughter called me Mommy, she said quietly. And instead of being angry, I realized she was right. Not about me, about what a mother is. She turned to face him. A mother is someone who shows up when a child needs them, someone who fixes what's broken, someone who kneels on cold floors to tie shoes twice because that's what makes a child feel safe. Her voice wavered. I haven't been those things in 7 years. Your daughter reminded me that I could be. I don't understand, Daniel said. You don't have to. Evelyn returned to her desk. You just have to decide. Take the job or don't. But make your choice based on what's best for Lucy, not on what you think you deserve. Daniel looked at his hands. Calloused, scarred. The hands of a man who'd spent 3 years fixing things in the dark while his daughter slept in cardboard forts. I'll take it, he said. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just do the job well. He stood to leave. Harper, Evelyn called. He turned. Your daughter. The shoes she wears, they're too small, I know. But they were her mother's last gift. I can't. I'm not telling you to throw them away. Evelyn's voice softened. I'm saying you can keep them and still buy new ones. Memory doesn't require suffering. Daniel nodded slowly. I'll think about it. He left the office. In the waiting area, Lucy looked up from her coloring. Are you fired, Daddy? No, sweetheart. I got a new job. Because of the nice lady? Yes. Because of her. Lucy smiled and went back to her drawing. 3 stick figures under stars, all of them holding hands. That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She stood in her closet, staring at the glass case, at Emma's shoes, at the memorial she'd built to keep her daughter frozen in time. Memory doesn't require suffering. Her own words, spoken to Daniel. Words she'd never believed for herself. She opened the case for the first time in 7 years. The shoes felt lighter than she remembered. Small. Impossibly small. How had Emma's feet ever been this tiny? Evelyn carried them to the living room, set them on the coffee table, sat on the couch and stared at them until her eyes blurred. Emma would be 15 now. If she'd lived, she'd be in high school. Probably rolling her eyes at everything, Evelyn said. Probably testing boundaries and asking for car keys and staying up too late on school nights. But she hadn't lived. And for 7 years, Evelyn had built a fortress around that fact. She'd turned herself to ice, convinced that if she felt nothing, the pain would stop. That if she helped no one, she couldn't fail anyone again. Then a 5-year-old called her Mommy, and the whole structure began to crack. Evelyn picked up her phone. Scrolled through contacts she hadn't called in years. Found one name. Hesitated. Marcus. Her ex-husband. The man who'd walked away after Emma died. She called. He answered on the 4th ring. Evelyn? Hi. Silence. Then, are you okay? No. The admission felt like stepping off a cliff. I haven't been okay in 7 years. Why are you calling? Because I need to know something. She took a breath. When you left, after the accident, was it because you blamed me? Another silence. Longer this time. No, Marcus said finally. I left because you blamed yourself, and I couldn't watch you destroy yourself over something that wasn't your fault. The roads were icy. I was driving. I lost control. The other driver ran a red light. Marcus interrupted. The police report said so. The witnesses said so. Everyone said so, except you. I should have been more careful. You can't control everything, Evelyn. You never could. But you tried. You built your whole life around control. And when Emma died, when you couldn't control that, you punished yourself. You shut down. You pushed everyone away. His voice cracked. Including me. Evelyn closed her eyes. I'm sorry. I know. I was sorry too. I'm still sorry. I met a child, Evelyn said. She lost her mother. She's 5. She calls people mommy when they show her kindness because her father told her that's what mothers do. They show up. They care. They tie shoes twice because that's what makes a child feel safe. Sounds like a smart father. She called me mommy. The words caught in her throat. And I ran. Because I haven't been a mother in 7 years. Because I didn't deserve that word. Evelyn. But then she kept showing up. And I kept seeing her. And today I fixed her shoe. I knelt on a marble floor and repaired a broken shoe with duct tape because she needed it. Because someone had to. A sob escaped. And it felt like being a mother again. Marcus's breath shook on the other end of the line. Good. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to let go of Emma and still be a mother to anyone else. You don't let go, Marcus said gently. You just make room. Emma will always be your daughter. But that doesn't mean you can't care about other children. That doesn't mean you have to spend the rest of your life frozen. Evelyn looked at the shoes on her coffee table. I've been keeping her shoes in a glass case, she whispered. Like a museum exhibit. Like if I preserved them perfectly, she wouldn't really be gone. What are you going to do with them now? I don't know. But maybe they don't need to be behind glass. Maybe I can just keep them. And remember. And let that be enough. I think Emma would like that. They talked for another hour. About Emma. About the years they'd lost. About grief and guilt and the impossibility of moving forward while carrying the weight of the past. When Evelyn finally hung up, dawn was breaking over the frozen lake. She was exhausted. She was crying. But for the first time in 7 years, she didn't feel alone. She picked up Emma's shoes, carried them back to the closet, but instead of putting them in the glass case, she set them on a shelf. Just a shelf, like any other pair of shoes, like something precious but not sacred, like memory instead of shrine. Then she did something she hadn't done since Emma died. She went outside. The snow was still falling. The cold bit at her face, but she stood on her balcony and watched the city wake up, watched the sun struggle to break through the clouds, watched life continue despite everything that had been lost. It was beautiful. It had always been beautiful. She'd just forgotten how to see it. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, Evelyn did something unprecedented. She left her apartment without her usual armor. No suit, no heels, just jeans and a coat and boots meant for walking rather than intimidating. She took the elevator to the ground floor, walked through the lobby, pushed open the doors that led to the small park behind North Star Tower. There, in the snow, was Lucy. She was building a snowman with fierce concentration, her purple coat bright against the white. Daniel sat on a nearby bench, watching her with the expression of someone who'd learned to find joy in small moments. Lucy saw Evelyn first. Her face lit up. Miss Evelyn, not Mommy, not anymore, just Miss Evelyn. Something in Evelyn's chest loosened. Hi, Lucy. Daniel stood, surprise clear on his face. Miss Frost. We didn't mean to. It's Saturday, Evelyn said. You're allowed to use the park. She paused. Actually, everyone's allowed to use the park. I just never do. Do you want to help? Lucy called. We're making a snow family. Evelyn looked at the half-formed snowman. At the child waiting for her answer. At the father watching carefully, ready to intervene if she needed an escape. I don't know how, Evelyn admitted. It's easy, Lucy said. You just roll the snow until it gets big. So Evelyn knelt in the snow. She rolled snow until her hands went numb. She helped Lucy stack the spheres. She watched Daniel produce a carrot from his pocket for the nose, buttons for eyes. It needs a scarf, Lucy declared. Without thinking, Evelyn unwound her own scarf, wrapped it around the snowman's neck. It was cashmere, expensive, completely inappropriate for a snowman. Lucy beamed. Perfect. They stepped back to admire their work. The snowman stood lopsided and imperfect, wearing a designer scarf and a carrot nose, guarding the small park behind a tower of glass and steel. "Now we need a snow kid," Lucy announced. "Every family needs a kid." Evelyn felt Daniel's eyes on her, felt the question he wasn't asking. "Are you okay? Is this too much?" "Every family needs a kid," she agreed quietly. So they built a smaller snowman. Lucy directed with the authority of someone who knew exactly what a snow family should look like. When they finished, 3 figures stood in the park. Tall, short, tall, like Lucy's drawing. "Can we take a picture?" Lucy asked her father. Daniel pulled out his phone. Old, cracked screen. But it worked. "All of us," Lucy insisted. "With the Snow family." So Daniel set the timer. They stood together, 3 living people and 3 snow figures, and the phone captured them all. Lucy in the middle, Daniel on one side, Evelyn on the other. Not a family. Not exactly. But something. Something that mattered. Later, as the sun began to set, Lucy yawned. "Time to go," Daniel said. "But the Snow family will be lonely," Lucy protested. "They'll be fine," Evelyn said, "and we'll visit them tomorrow." Lucy's eyes went wide. "We will?" Evelyn looked at Daniel. He gave the smallest nod. "Yes," Evelyn said, "if you want." "I want! I want!" Lucy grabbed both their hands, pulling them toward the building. "And we can have hot chocolate. Daddy makes really good hot chocolate." "I don't want to impose," Evelyn started. "It's not imposing if we're asking," Daniel said. There was something in his voice. Gratitude, maybe? Or understanding? Or both? They went upstairs to Daniel's new office. Small but warm. A desk, a computer, a coffee maker. Pictures of Lucy taped to the wall. He made hot chocolate while Lucy showed Evelyn her latest drawings. More stick figures. Always 3 of them. Always holding hands. "This one is us in the park," Lucy explained. "And this one is us at the Snow family. And this one is us tomorrow." "How do you know what tomorrow will look like?" Evelyn asked. Lucy shrugged. "I just know. We'll be together. That's all that matters." Out of the mouths of children, they drank hot chocolate as the sun set. They talked about small things. Lucy's drawings, Daniel's new projects, the snow that wouldn't stop falling. When Evelyn finally left, when she rode the elevator back up to her empty penthouse, she carried something she hadn't had in 7 years. Hope. Winter turned toward spring, but slowly. Chicago held on to the cold like a grudge. Evelyn's life changed in ways she couldn't have predicted. Small ways. Important ways. She started leaving work at reasonable hours. Not every day, but enough that her assistant stopped looking shocked when she said goodnight at 6 instead of midnight. She started eating dinner with people instead of alone at her desk. Sometimes with Daniel and Lucy in his office. Sometimes just with Lucy when Daniel had late projects. She learned that Lucy liked carrots but hated peas, that her favorite color was purple, that she wanted to be an astronaut when she grew up because space doesn't have rules. And Lucy stopped calling her Mommy. It happened gradually. Mommy became Miss Evelyn. Miss Evelyn became just Evelyn on days when Lucy forgot to be formal. "Is it okay that I don't call you Mommy anymore?" Lucy asked one evening. They were sitting in Evelyn's office, Lucy drawing while Evelyn worked on reports. Evelyn looked up. "Why wouldn't it be okay? Because I thought you were my mommy." "But Daddy says you're not. You're just Evelyn. And I like you being Evelyn." "I like being Evelyn too," Evelyn said softly. "Your mommy was Sarah. She loved you very much. I can't be her. I know." Lucy didn't look up from her drawing. "But you can be you. And you're pretty great." Something in Evelyn's throat tightened. "You're pretty great too." I know. Lucy grinned. Then, serious again. Can I tell you a secret? Of course. I got new shoes. She stuck out her foot. The pink sneakers were gone, replaced by purple ones with lights in the heels. Daddy said it was okay, that Mommy would want me to have shoes that fit. What did you do with the old ones? Put them in my special box, with Mommy's pictures and the necklace she wore. Daddy says we can keep things and still move forward. Like you with your daughter. Evelyn froze. How do you know about my daughter? Daddy told me. He said you had a little girl named Emma who died in an accident. He said that's why you were sad, and that's why you understood about shoes. Evelyn should have been angry. This was private. This was hers. But looking at Lucy's open face, she felt only gratitude. Yes, she said. I had a daughter. She was 8. She liked to draw, like you. Do you miss her? Every day. Me too, with my mommy. Lucy went back to her drawing. But it's okay to miss them and still be happy sometimes, right? Right, Evelyn whispered. They sat in comfortable silence, Lucy drawing. Evelyn pretending to work but mostly watching this small person who'd somehow cracked open her frozen world. Later that week, Daniel knocked on Evelyn's office door. Got a minute? Always. He sat, nervous. I wanted to thank you for the job, for Lucy, for everything. You've thanked me already. I know, but I need to say something else. He took a breath. Lucy's birthday is next month. She wants a party. Nothing big, just a few kids from the building. Cake, games, the usual. That sounds nice. She wants to invite you. As a guest, not as the CEO. Just as Evelyn. Evelyn's hands stilled on her keyboard. I don't know if I'd be good at parties. You don't have to be good at them. You just have to show up. Daniel leaned forward. Look, I know this is complicated. I know Lucy isn't your daughter. I know we're employees and you're the CEO and there are probably a dozen HR policies against whatever this is. But she cares about you. And I think you care about her. So, if you want to come, we'd love to have you. If you don't, that's okay too. No pressure. Evelyn thought about Emma's 8th birthday, the party they'd planned but never had, the cake that went uneaten, the presents that stayed wrapped. I'll come, she said. Daniel smiled. Good. He left. Evelyn returned to her work. But for the first time in years, she found herself looking forward to something. Lucy's birthday fell on a Saturday in March. Snow still covered the ground, but the sun shone brighter. Spring was coming. Eventually, the party was in the building's community room. Daniel had decorated with purple streamers. 6 children ran around, screaming with the pure joy of being 6. Evelyn arrived exactly on time, carrying a gift she'd spent 3 days selecting. A set of art supplies. Professional grade, the kind Emma would have loved. Lucy saw her and ran over. You came. I said I would. I know, but I thought maybe you'd be too busy. Daddy said CEOs are always busy. Not today. Evelyn handed her the gift. Happy birthday. Lucy tore into the wrapping paper with abandon. When she saw the art supplies, her eyes went wide. These are for real artists. You are a real artist. Thank you. Lucy threw her arms around Evelyn's waist. Evelyn stiffened for only a moment before hugging back. It had been so long since she'd held a child, so long since she'd let herself be held. The party was chaos, beautiful chaos. Children everywhere, cake crumbs on every surface, laughter that made the walls shake. Evelyn sat in the corner, watching. Daniel brought her a piece of cake. You're surviving, he observed. Barely. Thank you for coming. It means a lot to her. It means a lot to me, too. They watched Lucy open presents, play games, be 6 years old without apology. Can I ask you something? Daniel said. Sure. That first day, in the elevator. Why did you run? Evelyn was quiet for a long moment. Because Lucy reminded me of what I'd lost. And I wasn't ready to feel that again. And now? Now I think maybe loss doesn't have to mean the end. Maybe you can lose something precious and still find something else. Not a replacement, but something new, something that matters in a different way. Daniel nodded slowly. Sarah used to say that grief isn't about forgetting. It's about making room. Room for the memories and room for new life. She was wise. She was. He smiled. I think she and Emma would have liked each other. I think so too. Later, after most of the guests had left, Lucy came over with a piece of paper. I made this for you. It was another drawing. But this one was different. 4 figures instead of 3. 3 under the sun. One above them, smaller, in the clouds. That's me, Daddy, and you, Lucy explained, pointing to the 3 on the ground. And that's Emma. I thought maybe she'd like to be in the picture too, even though she's in heaven. Evelyn couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Is it okay? Lucy asked, suddenly worried. Daddy said it might make you sad. It does make me sad, Evelyn managed, but in a good way, in a way that means I'm feeling things again. She pulled Lucy into a hug. A real one, the kind that said thank you and I'm sorry and you've saved me all at once. When she let go, Lucy smiled. Can I tell you another secret? Always. I think my mommy and Emma are friends in heaven. I think they're happy we found each other. Evelyn looked at the drawing. At Emma in the clouds. At herself on the ground, holding hands with people who'd wandered into her life when she least expected it. I think you're right, she whispered. That night, Evelyn hung the drawing in her apartment. Not in the closet, not hidden away. Right there on the wall of her living room where she'd see it every day. Then she did something else. She took Emma's shoes from the shelf, held them for a long time, remembered everything they represented. Then she placed them back. Not in glass, not in shadow, but in plain sight. A reminder of what was, a promise to what could be. The next morning, she woke to find the snow had finally stopped. The sun broke through the clouds, turning the frozen lake into something that sparkled. Spring was coming. Real spring. The kind that melted ice and brought things back to life. Evelyn made coffee, put on jeans instead of a suit. Walked downstairs to the park where 3 snow figures still stood, smaller now, melting gradually. Daniel and Lucy were already there. Morning, Daniel called. Morning. They're melting, Lucy said sadly, looking at the Snow family. That's okay, Evelyn said. We can build new ones next winter. Promise? Promise. Lucy took her hand, then took Daniel's. The 3 of them stood there as the sun rose higher, as the snow began its slow transformation into water, as winter finally gave way to something warmer. Evelyn had spent 7 years frozen. 7 years convinced that ice was safer than warmth, that distance was easier than connection, that loss meant the end of everything. But standing here, holding hands with a child who'd called her mommy, and a man who'd taught his daughter that love could exist in small moments, she understood something new. Winter always ended. Ice always melted. And sometimes, if you were brave enough to feel the cold, you discovered you could survive it. You could even find warmth on the other side. What should we do today? Lucy asked. Daniel looked at Evelyn.